Well, I'm afraid we've got a problem here. Mike Mullen from MikeMullen.net. Friday afternoon, leaving Michigan International Speedway, and the Joe Gibbs bunch, I think they were in hot water. They got caught by NASCAR who took oil pans. You know, the bottom part of the engine where the oil drops down. Well, they had a trick little piece that bolted into the chassis and worked pretty good, I thought. NASCAR didn't like it, wasn't approved. The rule book doesn't really say a lot about oil pans, except about 3 sentences. Basically, you're supposed to have them approved by NASCAR, or at least okayed by NASCAR. It's not quite like cylinder heads where you have to have them checked out and all that sort of stuff, but you're supposed to at least drop by the office and say, hey, what do you think about this? They didn't. NASCAR doesn't know what to do. We got Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Joey Logano. 3 guys, 3 crew chiefs. Penalties could have to be the same for all 3, because they all 3 had the thing on them. What does that mean? Well, one of the people I talked to who's familiar with the issue and the politics and all that says it could be a big penalty. I don't know if they'd go that far. I mean, a big penalty would be like a 4-week suspension for all 3 crew chiefs. That would virtually wipe out the Joe Gibbs operation. I don't know. I talked to Greg Zippatelli, and he says it's up to NASCAR, and couldn't quite read him that well. Couldn't tell what he was thinking. But I think that when you mess with the engine without getting something approved by NASCAR, even if it's just the oil pan, you could be in trouble. NASCAR says it's going to wait till about Tuesday before it decides what to do. I think a points penalty, a fine, I don't know about suspension. Would you suspend all 3 crew chiefs for Joe Gibbs Racing? You'd almost think that somebody was setting them up on that deal. I find that hard to believe. And I've got to believe, after looking at those oil pans, that it really wasn't that big a deal. Yes, it was a little heavier than usual, and it was a little lower center of gravity because of that. Not much to speak of. Maybe a little slicker aerodynamics under the car, and Jack Roush says that aerodynamics under the car is one of the things everybody's looking at, because that's like a gray area in the book. But we'll have to wait and see what NASCAR wants to do. What about the Joe Gibbs operation? Take Denny Hamlin right out of the ballpark in terms of running for the championship. He's 12th and he's not having a good spring. Take Joey Logano out. Take Kyle Busch out. Been a bad spring for Kyle Busch. Rules are rules. Parts were laid out for everybody to look at. Some of the guys that I talked to, rival teams, said they're not sure why NASCAR's making a big stink about the whole thing. I don't know if I am either. But we'll have to see what they do. And I think there might be some nervous people at dinner tonight working for Joe Gibbs. David Reagan and A.J. Allmendinger are the 2 fastest cars on the track today. They qualify Saturday. Assuming it doesn't rain, and this is the mountains. Good rain. Michigan, Irish Hills. Rain's always a possibility. And if they do rain out qualifying, then David Reagan and A.J. Allmendinger are on the front row. It goes by speeds in practice, the first practice session today. But the story of today, Joe Gibbs on the hot seat. Again, Mike Mullen from MikeMullen.net.